next wave of business leaders won't just use AI, they'll master momentum with it, starting now. Welcome to the Mastering AI Momentum Show, where visionary founders and driven business leaders turn artificial intelligence, automation, and scalable systems into real growth, real scale, and real freedom. If you're ready to break bottlenecks, reclaim your title, and scale smarter, this is your playbook. Let's dive in. Here are your hosts, Allie Porter and Elise Smith.
Hey. Welcome back to the Mastering AI Momentum Show. I am Elise Smith, your AI business strategist with Millionaire Momentum AI Agency, where we help founders build freedom into their business with AI systems that replace chaos with clarity. And today's guest is a master at doing just that. He's one of those rare strategists who can look under the hood of any business and instantly see where time, money, and energy are leaking and how to fix it. So, Dan, I'm so excited to have you join us here today.
Oh, at least thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have a conversation with you. This is really great.
Absolutely. So I'm thrilled to welcome Dan Condell, founder of dancondell.com and consultant for Ugly Mug Marketing, a powerhouse agency out of Louisiana known for delivering results that actually work in the real world. I mean, that's kind of important, huh?
It is. Yeah.
I love it. Dan helps business owners from fast-growing med spas to $500 million enterprises identify the bottlenecks keeping them stuck and design systems that scale with clarity and control. He's built his career across sales, marketing, and business development, and today he brings all of that experience together as both a strategist and advisor, blending deep insight with hands-on experience. So I love this, Dan. I love everything that you stand for. I mean, like, we are like kindred spirits already.
Thank you so much, Elise. Yeah, we have great, I think there's a lot of symmetry that we have in our conversations, and I'm excited to have this opportunity to chat with you today.
Awesome. That sounds wonderful. So tell us a little bit about your company, dancondell.com and Ugly Mug Marketing.
Absolutely. So it was as you kind of mentioned through walk through this process, that it is very much a need in this industry. There's a lot of things going on where we have a lot of tools and a lot of things that do things, but they don't necessarily solve a problem or aid to a pain point. So this is kind of where this is all born and came out of, is like really taking tools that are fantastic and making sure they're pairing with people that need them in a way that actually solves their problem, versus just here's the latest, greatest gadget. Here you go. Let's throw some money at it and hope it solves our problem. It's really understanding where the issues are, what sorts of things really help the rubber meet the road.
Yeah. You know, especially with the AI world and everything that's been coming out lately, I think sometimes people get tools just to get tools. Yep. And you've got to have the strategy behind it. Otherwise, the best tool in the world is not going to help you at all, right?
No, absolutely not. It's really not the business owner's, I don't want to say fault, or even sometimes responsibility, although it always does fall on them, because there's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of murky water, and this does that. And do I really need this? And you don't have, as a business owner, you don't have the time to go through and vet every single product and go through, stay on top of every single break. Because this, as you know, at least it changes daily. Yeah. There's new updates, I mean, constantly coming out. And the truth of the matter is, you need somebody that has the time and has the dedication, the bandwidth to look through this and say, you know what, not only do I understand your needs as a client, I know enough about these products and these services and things that this is not quite the solution that you're going to need. It's going to give you the results. So that's really where Condell Consulting came about. Is there's a constantly having these questions coming to me about AI and about how do we flush through this? What are some tools and things that I need or don't need, and what is it and how do I use it? Really, that's probably one of the biggest things that go through. Is like, what is this and how do you use this professionally and personally?
Yeah, there's so much hype around it. And I think that if you don't have that strategy, like you were talking about, that you're just going to waste your time and you're going to burn yourself out too. I mean, I remember when I first got started looking at all of the AI tools just for business alone, I was like, how do you choose? How do you choose what's actually going to help you to move the needle? What's just fun to play with compared to, you know, something that maybe you actually need something more custom, which is kind of where we could step in. So I love that we're on the same page page there. Now, you describe your path as like spiral, not linear,
Yeah.
as we talked about last time. So tell me more about that.
Yeah.
How did that shape the way that you think about business strategy and growth?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we talked about that. Is that I haven't had a traditional linear path, like start to finish and so on. I've gone in very much a spiral area. I started out. My first position was in marketing and sales and out of college. I have a degree in psychology. So if this kind of gives you an idea of where this is starting to go. And then from there, I took everything that I learned in that area and applied it into management. And then from that, the tools and things I learned from management helped me open a first business. So I've always revolved around different areas and taking the skill sets from them. But no, from a logical A to B, that's not the way I'm built. I'm very much in a spiral career, as I kind of described it before. And that led me to the point now where I have an idea of what it's like to sit in somebody's shoes that are making these decisions. And helps gives me context and patience and empathy and not necessarily, my job is not to sell or to a product. My job is to become an advocate for that client. What do they really need? And having that kind of that spiral career of touching a lot of things, from being a business owner to working in sales and everything else, an aspect in this area. I mean, heck, I was in restaurants and food and beverage as a kid growing up. So I've been every single area, and even in service. So having that ability, or having that kind of that background, allows me to have a pretty big or wide perspective on maybe there's another way of looking at this problem instead of just the same way that we have.
I love that. Yes. So you work with everyone from owner-led businesses to enterprise brands. What's the common thread that you're seeing in leaders who actually scale successfully?
Absolutely. I think what we've been hitting on it around it, and that is having structure and having a strategy. It's important to think that AIs are independent, and AI is a very general term. We can talk LLMs and everything else, but we'll just say AI for generally. It's still just a tool. Okay, it's a tool and a part of that can help build a strategy, but there still has to be a strategy. There still has to be a way of measuring results. How do we know what they are? And we still need to know. This has been the same since over the 20 years I've worked in business. Is you still have to be able to have a goal to work towards, and the flexibility to change when new information comes in and say, okay, I need to adapt this and move into this direction because there's new information that comes in. It is true on any business when you're scaling. It doesn't get easier. It gets harder. It never gets easier. You just have new problems. That's all it is. And you learn to have a tolerance for that. So the people that I've worked with that have been the most successful in business thrive in that environment, understand that environment, and understand that I'm not doing this so I can go buy a vacation home. I'm doing this because I believe I can do this, because it's not the end goal. The end goal is to create something that creates jobs, opportunity, and yes, ultimately freedom for you, but it never gets easier.
Yeah.
You continue to work, and you have to have a structure and a strategy. If you don't have a strategy, you're just throwing stuff at the wall, hoping it works.
Yeah. And I love the real talk too, because I mean, my heavens, if you want like the greatest personal development you can ever have, go run a business. Like build up your business.
It's going to test you in every which way you've ever imagined.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because I listen to lots of different thought leaders myself on podcasts, and I have a business coach myself, and they're constantly talking about how there's going to be ups and downs in business. And I think we kind of take that for granted of like, yeah, sure. Right. But when it's like every single day, one day is bad and one day is good. And the thing is like the breakdowns lead to the breakthroughs.
Oh, absolutely.
And so when you have those moments where it just feels like everything's falling apart, it's actually falling apart to get into the correct place, and you can learn from it and move forward. So how have you seen that with the people that you've worked with? Like have those breakdowns led to breakthroughs every time, or is there a reason why it does that?
Yeah. And before I move on to that, I do want to note something you did say. You said you have a coach yourself. I think that's really, really, really important to note, that all your listeners are, regardless of what stage you're in, having a mentor is incredibly valuable. Get information to be around people that have already been where you want to go, or are able to just at the very least help you see through or notice some blind spots you might have. Incredibly important to have. But to answer your question on just the scaling and the nature of how the business progresses and grows, it's always a challenge. I think an example or a time when people have come to this point, I think there's always an analogy. The first thing that came up to my head when you thought about that was that, I don't know if you've ever seen that meme where the guy is pushing against the wall, and then just behind it, there's like all the gold and jewels or whatever else behind it, but he turns away. I really do believe that is the business summed up, is the people that have or if you have, and it's not something that's born, you can learn this, the highest level of tolerance of resistance. Just if you believe in what you're doing, you believe you have a solution for someone, and you believe this is the right one, the further you go, the more resistance you're going to get. And then the crazy thing about this is, once you break through that and you're able to break through that, everybody's going to say the same thing, like, well, that was easy. Or I had that idea years ago. And you know what? You probably did. You probably had the idea. Somebody had the idea before you. They may even had a better idea than you, but what they didn't do, they didn't have execution and grit to go see it through. And so if there's anything anybody takes, just have that perseverance. Have the humility to have a coach and someone that's going to give you whatever that coach means. It could be a paid coach. It could be somebody that understands it, to help guide you when you're off course. But once you're on course, don't give in. It's so much of it is just persistence and getting up the next day and knowing why you want to do this and who this is for.
Yeah. Can I ask, what is your why, Dan?
Oh, it's a great question. There's two of them. Like, personally, my why is my family and my daughter. So I get up every morning and I go so there's a great exercise that I would encourage anybody to do. And I didn't coin this. This is something that Simon Sinek has done. If anybody, your viewers are familiar with him, if not, I highly recommend it.
He's amazing.
But there's a simple model. It's like, think of why you do something and who cares. That's simple. Why are you doing this? Why am I getting up and going to work, and why I'm doing these sort of things? Why am I taking this extra time? And who cares? Well, my family cares. So that matters to me. So showing up as a good dad matters to my daughter. So that's why I do it. Professionally, I get up every day because I see folks come to points of decisions that they struggle with every day. I work with people that are exceptional at what they do. They are phenomenally good at what they do, because that's why they started a business. They're exceptional bakers. They're exceptional accountants. They're exceptional, whatever they are. They're very good at it. But that doesn't necessarily translate to business and marketing. Not necessarily. So why I get up is because I feel that folks like that need an advocate or a team member on their side that can help them through these decisions. And who cares? The people that are getting up and the people that are in the middle of the night, waking up, thinking about problems that they had with either, whether it's marketing or whatever it is in the middle of the night. That's what I envision in my head is my client. I want to help that client sleep better at night. I want that client to be able to not have to get up in the middle of the night and think, oh my gosh, this marketing strategy, or I'm getting ripped off by this Google paper ads or whatever this is. So that's my why. And that's who I think cares. I hope.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your heart on that. You have to have a why that's bigger than yourself. Otherwise,
absolutely.
The days that are really just like really hard, you're not going to have enough stamina to keep going and to face the resistance. I always say, like, new level, new devil. And so what is that why going to help you? How is that why going to help you to be able to overcome that new devil? Because at every single level it happens. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Growth equals complexity. It'll never, growth has never been simple. It never makes growing never makes things simpler. Growing just makes things more complicated.
Yeah, but it's totally worth it.
Oh, 100%. I say all this sort of stuff, but it really, there is so much about it, because we're at our heart, I think we're creative people, and people want to create things. And that's what draws me personally is I love to be able to create or have something new and problem solve. And being creative is not necessarily just art. There's a lot of ways of thinking creatively. And that's what being an entrepreneur or a business owner is. It's thinking creatively all the time.
Yeah, and sometimes it gets exhausting.
Sure does.
That's
Yeah.
where we have AI come in and help us, right?
Exactly. Exactly. This is the I think and this is part of our conversation we had earlier was this is such a superpower for people that already have a lot of creativity and drive. So if you're that entrepreneur that has that drive and there's because what does AI really solve? It solves the redundant tasks that are either highly complex or just absolutely a cognitive drain to do. It does
Mhm.
them faster and it does them more accurately in a
Yeah.
lot of different ways. That can mean a lot of different things. And you know what that means? That means that you can now go and take that time, that energy you had, the cognitive energy that you were spending on these spreadsheets that you were automating. And now you can think of things creatively, new products, new areas, that sort of thing to help drive your business further forward.
Yeah.
That's what it really can do. That's what's amazing.
I know. And, when AI like really first went mainstream, my business partner, Allie, and I were talking and we kind of had this paradigm shift of what if we're not meant to work 40 hours a week plus, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what if AI actually gives us the ability to spend more time with our families and to pursue our passions and,
Yeah.
that type of thing? And I think it's a really cool concept because just because you take some things off your plate doesn't necessarily mean you need to bring on more.
That's absolutely
Maybe it's time for everybody to kind of readjust and reposition. When COVID hit, I feel like everybody got a chance to just take a break for a
right. Oh my gosh.
second.
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole world needed that. And so maybe that was preparing us for realizing we can work from home and we can take some more time for our families. And so it's interesting to see where AI goes and how to balance that, because I really feel like you're a heartfelt kind of guy. And so when you say that you kind of help to bring in AI into the businesses that you work with
Mhm.
and that you use it yourself, how do
Mhm.
you strike that balance between being so heartfelt and having that why and having AI be part of your whole story and what you teach?
There, that's a great question. So, there's two different ways I can look at this. I can look at this how I use it to improve my own personal life, so I have more time to spend taking my daughter fishing.
Yeah.
And so I believe in not only just helping but leading by example. And so on a business area, I think that's the biggest way I've looked at this. And this is one thought that I've been struggling with AI and a lot of thought leaders that I follow and listen to are struggling with. Is like, how do we prevent AI from doing all of the heavy lifting and thinking that really makes us sharp? Like the process. How do we still fall in love with the process if we get rid of the process and we just have the end outcome?
Mm.
So I know that's not directly your question, but it's kind of tied into a little bit is how do I balance that? I balance that by making sure I'm still grinding through a process.
Hmm.
So if I'm going to write a blog post, I'm still going to through the research and take the information I have and put it out in a manner that makes sense. So I'm still going through the process of writing in something, and I've noted, and I take AI, whatever one you want to use, and I use that as a tool that helps me do this faster. So in that sense, now I have more time. I can either choose to create more content with that time, or I can choose to do something different or create something for my daughter. So I'll give you an example. I am now much more efficient at that process of editing. So now now I can take on more projects that have been sitting on the shelf forever. So there's books and there's short stories and there's things that I wanted to get out creatively, personally, that I can now do because I have more of that time. I can take them off the shelf because this is the way it's been in adult life. All those personal projects get pushed to the back because we have to make money,
Yeah.
take care of our family, to grow, to do these things. So these small little things that really make life important, I now have a little more time to do those things. So in that way, both professionally and personally, it's helped a ton, a ton. But again, I'm not creating something just to get it done. It's actually going through the process of doing it and
Mm.
gaining all of that experience and the struggle. Because I think that's really where the beauty in creating something comes from.
Yeah, exactly. And can you tell our audience what you're doing with your daughter when it comes to AI?
Sure. So my daughter, who's 6, and so we had a choice to make. my wife and I, do we hide her from the technology and shelter her from it? Or do we say, okay, this is what it is. You're going to get introduced to it. Let me teach you how to use it. So for all the reasons I just talked about, I was frightened of it because I don't want her to start writing essays and not really learn what it's like to stay up all night, redline that thing and go back through into the process. She needs to, those lessons, as much as I hated them in the moment, have made me a better writer now. Right. So what we've done with my daughter is we have a chat GPT, or not a chat GPT, I don't remember. I think it's, it doesn't matter. Call her Paige. So Paige is my daughter's writing assistant. So my daughter and I have a story. We're calling it Thomas the Blue Jay. And this is a story completely made up from her about this Blue Jay. She decided to name it Thomas. So what we do is we talk through the idea. I'm like, what is Thomas doing today? What are some ideas that Thomas, so we're getting that creative storytelling and say, so wait a minute, we forgot about Charlie the Chipmunk. Where is Charlie the Chipmunk? So we have all these pieces created that would be a storyline for a story. And then we take them and then she tells them into, sometimes I help her, into Paige, and then Paige keeps everything. And then we create guardrails for Paige to ask questions about character development, not write the whole thing. So now it's coming back to us and says, okay, Thomas has a choice here. Does he do this or this? Or what are your thoughts on what? So we've created it, learned how the tool works inside the parameters of the way the tool works to help us still get the end result. Because all it wants to do is make us happy. We just have to tell it what makes us happy. So if you're not getting a result that you want, it's because it doesn't understand what you want. So by doing that, we're now writing a short story that she at the end edits. She decides, and she's 6. She says, I don't think Thomas flies over that red truck. I think it should be blue. I want it to be blue. So we're going to make it blue. And she goes through the process. So that's what we're doing. And in turn, she's becoming introduced to AI. She's learning how to use it, but she's also learning how to maintain that creativity that she's so full of at 6 years old.
That is just, I mean, it just gives me goosebumps because you're connecting with your daughter through AI, and you're teaching her AI skills that she's going to need going forward in her life, because that's the world that we live in. So it just is such a fun way to express your creativity. And I think one of the things that is like a huge benefit about AI and creativity is it structures you, right?
Yeah.
It keeps you, I think you said the word guardrails. It keeps you in those guardrails. So, if you're a very creative person, like I was just telling Dan before we hopped on, Allie, my business partner, she's the visionary, and she can go all over the place when it comes to like her vision and her thoughts and everything. And she uses AI as those guardrails.
Absolutely.
And I'm the opposite. I'm very structured. And so I use those guardrails to actually help me be more creative.
That's interesting. I'd love to know more, because I'm more on Allie's side of that brain develop, and I'm dyslexic, and so I struggle in a lot of ways in material, and AI has helped me capture, like, one of my favorite things that I do with it, and this is tip for anybody, regardless of how your process works, is it's so simple. And as you go into ChatGPT, if you want to, again, whatever LLM you want to, Claude would do this, ChatGPT does this, and you just go ahead and create a file called brain dump. And now all these ideas that you have, you can give them to them. It takes it out of your brain, so it no longer keeps you up at night while you're trying to think of these things. It does. If you're a processor and a planner, that's your problem. Generally speaking, that's your struggle. Is I have to get these things done, and you have a hard problem. This is my wife, by the way, and it's the first thing you get in the morning. For those of us who don't have that problem, get rid of them. Our opposite problem is like, I had a great idea about that. Don't remember what it was. And it's gone. So it solves both of those problems. It gives a place for an idea where somebody would obsess over the idea to go and let it go. And it also gives those of us who have ideas and not sure how to structure it automatically, again, if you create the prompts properly, it'll create organization around it. It'll create prompts and steps to go through this idea. You can also create a litmus test against it. Like, is this, because I've done this with mine, I've given it my personality tests and everything else in it and said, okay, this is my type of temperament. Is this a good idea to pursue, or should I give this idea to someone else based on the criteria? And it says, no, this is more of a match for somebody else to pursue. So that's something anybody can create. It's not, and it's super helpful. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh man, we could just talk about AI
All
stuff
day,
forever. I
all day,
love it.
all day.
Um,
Yeah.
so you've led, advised, and scaled through so many stages. What's next for you and your company? Where are you going in 6 to 12 months?
Oh my gosh. So I am going in full in consulting independently. I will be there's been such an I can't tell you, Elise, and maybe you know this, how many times I've gone into a webinar, or I've hosted one or on marketing and structuring and creating avatars, like the traditional things we do in marketing, and 90% of the whole conversation is taken over by AI at the end.
Mm.
And so I'm like, okay, only so many times this is going to happen to them. Like, okay, we need to press this more, because that's what everybody has questions for now. And so I am going into consulting and auditing. So my job is to go into your business and say, okay, what are your pain points? What are the things that cause you the most difficulty? And are there AI tools that can fix that? That's where we start. And then we start to create a plan that goes into that. So that's where I'm going into, is in more independent consulting. I'm excited about it. I've been uber busy since I've made this change the last 6 months, and it's been great. I've gotten great response to it, and I'm learning so much. And
Mm.
it's filling that itch of being able to help somebody and see a almost immediate difference in the way they are personally and the way their business is run. Because there's a lot, as you know, a lot of misunderstanding about AI.
Mhm.
Most people use it as spell check or something else, and very elementary, and they're not getting the result they need. It's just because they haven't had the time or the bandwidth to go in to really learn how to use it properly. And that's what I get to do. I get to teach people how to use some basic things really properly. So it's fun. I love it.
That is so cool. I love it. Well, so as you know, here at Millionaire Momentum AI Agency, we build out AI agents for
Mhm.
multi-million-dollar
Absolutely.
businesses. So when it comes to like your dream AI agent that can help you or the businesses that you work with, what would you want that AI agent to take on as a task, or to take over?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say it's going to be very specific to each and custom to each business. But if generally speaking, what fits into that box is, what is it that eats the most amount of your time? And
Mhm.
when I say time, I also mean bandwidth. Like what did you have? Cognitive fatigue is a real thing, folks. I
Yep.
think we all know that. And so, what takes the largest amount of cognitive effort, and what is the most redundant task and process that you could take off of your plate? And not necessarily as a business owner, but maybe there's areas in your process that would help your employees, that say, if we took this off of your plate, what other things could you guys do? So that would be
Mhm.
the area that I would say is the most effective, most process. Specifically, those are usually look, accounting things. They're data. We didn't
Mhm.
even talk about data. My gosh, that's probably one of the most impactful things that I do is help folks and refer them to people like yourself that will build out real data for their clients, and so they really understand what their clients are needing and what their employees are saying.
Yeah,
So,
and data is such a huge thing too,
mhm,
like the research around it. I mean, there's a phrase when it comes to AI, and it doesn't always apply to everything, but it
mhm.
takes things from months to minutes. I mean,
Oh
that's
yeah,
literally the impact that it can have. And data and research is like one of the best areas where you can have that result. So I love that.
I
Good,
would
good.
say so. To answer your question, like the number one, I would say there's a lot of things, but if the easiest, the low hanging fruit, and probably the number one thing that I would recommend any business across the board do is start transcribing your meetings.
Mhm.
That simple. Just start transcribing them, whether that is a client meeting or it's internal meeting. There are so many nuances that go on in words that are said that we don't pick up. And then a properly built agent with the right guardrails and looking for the right information can filter all that data, aggregate all of it, and then come back to it. And I'm telling you, I've yet to have somebody that do this that has not looked there and like, oh, I had no idea. It's amazing. It's amazing. If you as a business owner, if you don't do anything else, do that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah,
do
and you
that.
can start with something as simple as like a note taker.
Mhm.
There's lots of
Yeah.
different note takers out there. We built out an entire AI agent for follow up. So it
Right.
listens to your calls. It sends out a personalized email of like, "Hey Dan, I love
Oh
the
my
fact
gosh.
that you talked about your daughter on today's podcast."
Yep.
And then it goes further and creates an entire follow up sequence that runs automatically for you, books calls for you, creates presentations for you. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's amazing what is possible with AI when you really start to think about, just like what you said, where's that bottleneck and where's
Mhm.
the thing that is zapping your energy and your time. So I love it.
Absolutely.
So
Elise,
fun.
that is and that is such a great point because it's double-sided and it's such a win. One, it saves you so much time, and two, it gives you the ability to personalize things. That is amazing. Like, this is one of the things that is talking a lot with when I do webinars and lectures and stuff on marketing, is the trend is towards personalization. The consumer is being trained to get things more personalized for them. That's where this is going. And
Mhm.
AI properly knows, agents that are properly built will start to create a very personalized experience for them. And that matters. That matters a ton.
Yeah.
And if you can set up a system that not only gives you really good data, but can save you some time and then also created a personalized experience, man, that is going to help you stand out.
Hold on. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And it's your brain, it's your heart. I mean, I still heard the story about your daughter. I still loved it, but am I going to remember
Right.
to put it in an email?
Nope.
Probably not,
Nope.
So, well, this has been so awesome. I
Yeah.
love this conversation and just the heart that you bring to the brain of AI and just what you're doing with not only your family, but your businesses that you work with as well. So,
Absolutely.
if people want to know more about you and how they can work with you, where do they go?
Absolutely. They can hop right on dancondell.com. Very easy to find. Email me directly at dan@dancondell.com. You can either one of those ways, you'll get a hold of me. And there's no question too big or too small. Happy to have a conversation and take a look at what's going on in your world, and maybe offer some insight in how we can help you.
I love it. Man, this guy is completely genuine, guys. So connect with him for sure. So thank you
Absolutely.
again, Dan.
Of course. Of course. Thank you so much, Elise.
Yeah,
Good to talk.
definitely. Absolutely. So that's it for this episode of the Mastering AI Momentum Show. Stay visionary, stay curious, and keep building your momentum with AI as your advantage. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Mastering AI Momentum. If today's episode gave you clarity or sparked a breakthrough, share it, review it, leave us a comment, and show Ali and Elise how you're turning AI into ROI. And make sure you subscribe, because the next episode could be the strategy that unlocks your next level. Until then, build smart, scale fast, and let AI multiply your momentum.